Spook.
Yes.
I don't think this social distancing is going to work.
I agree. I can't reach my beer. Let's try something else.
Spook.
Yes.
I don't know if this is going to work either.
Who said that? Alright, well, how about we just take a chance?
Okay. Welcome back to the Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm Spook.
Do you still remember the format?
No.
Okay, great.
Have we done this before?
Apparently once or twice. I think there was a losing grand final involved in one of the seasons.
No, that could be any year.
That's a good point.
I'd just like to welcome on board our new sponsor, McAfee, because it takes care of viruses.
Cool. The AFL season is back, but before we get to that,
yes,
let's go to the match we didn't review thanks to a certain pandemic.
Do we have a game? What round is this?
I should be like round 8 or something, should I? I got no idea.
Alright.
So we smashed Footscray.
Good.
Round 1. What do you think of that win? Quickly, because it was so long ago, I don't think anyone really remembers the game.
I've got 2 words.
Yep.
Flag, favourites.
I actually got to say, that was the best effort I've seen under Buckley, in my opinion. He's been there for, about 15 years. You've had games where they smashed opponents, like Richmond in the prelim a couple of years ago. But those sort of games, I kept waiting for it to unravel and for the other side to come back at us. In that game against the Bulldogs, it just felt like we were totally in control the whole game. When they came at us, we just upped the ante a little bit. It reminded me a little bit of 211, when we had that temperament.
Yep.
It was calculated, it was methodical, and it was ruthless. And Bulldogs aren't a nothing team. You know?
Are they?
No, they're not.
I mean,
historically they are, but in terms of their 2020, they were meant to be one of the flag contenders, and we just totally disassembled them.
My God, we must be flag favourites.
Yes. Brody Grundy, brilliant.
Yep.
I don't remember anyone else in the game.
Keane, that new bloke, Keane, he was pretty good.
Was he in that game?
Yeah, I think he was.
Tyler Brown was great, had poise.
Yep.
Fife Junior.
That other bloke was good.
Pendles, side.
Yep, that could be him.
Yep.
I can't remember what I did last week, let alone 6 weeks ago. Was it 6 weeks? It was longer than that. 8 weeks?
The thing I like...
16 years ago we last played.
We generally don't play Eddie had that well either. So,
no, that's a good point.
And we totally took the crowd out of it.
How many injuries did we get?
We'll get into that a bit later. We took the crowd out of it. We smashed them.
We took the crowd out of it.
Yep.
You can't write this stuff.
No.
And we just proved it.
Yes. All right. Any final thoughts about that game?
What a win. What a great start to the season. Then something happened.
It's a little bit ludicrous that they can't high-five each other, but they're handling the same football and they're tackling one another and they're sweating on each other.
We'll probably get to that as well.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll be back with a new segment.
Oh, good. What is it?
If It Was Collingwood.
If It Was Collingwood.
If It Was Collingwood. Coming soon.
Have we practiced this?
No.
Oh, good. This should be a beauty.
Welcome back. If It Was Collingwood, Spook.
Yes.
There was some video on Twitter and other social media of Joel Sellwood holding his girlfriend...
Joel Delwood.
Yeah, Joel Sellwood. Because I was going to the next word, dunking.
Delwood.
Joel Sellwood holding his girlfriend upside down, dunking her head in a bucket of water.
Hang on, was this meant to be funny?
Oh, I was at Geelong, so probably, yeah.
It's just normal, isn't it?
And then pretending he was going to mop the floor with his partner's head. If that was a Collingwood player, let's say if that was Jordan DeGoey.
Well, I would say, first off, the first thing that would happen is immediately whoever supplies us with cleaning goods at the Lexus Centre would have withdrawn their sponsorship.
Yep.
We would have had to pay for our own sponges.
How would feminists respond to the treatment of a woman like that as a mop?
Do we have to go here?
No, we don't. But it's just amazing that Sellwood... Really, nothing came of it.
No, I remember when I first saw it, I sent it to you and said, this won't end well. And I think there was a little bit of an uproar in the tweets post that, which you'd expect, because that's what Twitter's good at.
I think Clementine Ford wanted to die from a virus.
Oh, that's topical, isn't it? How much space is on this tape? I might go on a rant. Yeah, so I knew there'd be a bit of a backlash there. I think the media got hold of it. Caro...
Did she mention anything?
She said something on... Because there's about 74 episodes of Footy Classified on a week.
Do you notice they all sit like a 1.5 metres apart.
That's because Hutchie's so wide.
No, he's not on it anymore. It's just Carroll and...
Maybe it's his aura.
Ross Lyon, Matthew Lloyd, and Eddie Maguire.
To be honest, though, would you want to sit close to any of them?
I actually like Ross Lyon. I reckon he's really good.
You gun him for a replacement?
Yep. I like Matthew Lloyd too.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
What are you, one of them?
Jack Stevens.
Yes. Do we answer the question, though?
No, I think we answered that really wasn't...
There would have been stocks, rotten tomatoes, and probably hung, drawn, and quartered.
Jack Stevens being stabbed.
Is he?
Stevens, I don't know.
Was that straight after the mop incident?
No, it was... I don't know when it was. No one knows it. No one knows anything. Eddie Maguire called for transparency.
If it happened at Collingwood, it'd be 68 weeks on the sidelines.
Jack Stevens being stabbed is, I don't know, a malicious assault, I'm assuming.
Well, we don't know any details because I don't think he wants to reveal anything.
But you have to look at the wording. He was stabbed. He didn't fall on the knife. He didn't have a kitchen accident. He wasn't trying to cut open like... a slice of bread and accidentally disembowel himself. They're quite clear that he was stabbed. Alright, so there was some intent there.
Did it involve a possessed doll?
I don't know. Could have involved his mother-in-law, Endora.
So if this happened at Collingwood...
what would have happened?
As I said, it would have been about 68 years an injury that was never recovered from.
Yeah.
Well, that's the obvious one.
Yep.
Depends if are we on the receiving end of the stab or were we the stabber?
No, he on the receiving end.
I mean, we probably would have missed if we were stabbing someone.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been an incident.
Why would a Congo player inflict damage?
It would have happened to one of our best players instead of, who was it?
Jack Stevens.
He plays footy, does he?
He came from St Kilda.
Oh. Well, he must be good.
Yeah.
It would have happened to probably DeGoey.
I think it would have come out, all the media, those brilliant writers like Mark Robinson, who called Eddie Maguire weakest piss, and Carolyn Wilson, and all that would have demanded Collingwood show some transparency. Why aren't you telling the truth? What is your player doing? Who else is involved? Were their teammates there? What is going on? What does Collingwood have to hide? I'm actually surprised this story hasn't segued to what is Collingwood hiding here.
The amazing thing is it really shows when it's not Collingwood how much the media can respect the privacy of an individual.
There's more.
Is there?
Tyson Stengel.
Was more stabbed.
Tyson Stengel stopped for... Tyson Stengel's an Adelaide player, apparently. Tyson Stengel stopped driving an unregistered vehicle and he blew .125. He was suspended for 4 games and fined $2,500 by the club.
Gee, that must have been big. I didn't remember this one. When did that happen?
Apparently, it happened, but Adelaide sort of kept it hush-hush. But then
the whole city kept it hush-hush?
Yeah, and then because...
Is this like when they thought Paul McCartney was dead?
Adelaide thought Paul McCartney was dead. But then when the Bulldogs one came out, then Adelaide came out. But Adelaide said, look, we weren't hiding it. We're just, social distancing and that. We couldn't actually process it that quickly. There's no games being played, so what's your rush? And they had a very measured response. Going to the Bulldogs, Lockie Hunter, drink driving offence, crashed into 4 cars, causing apparently $100,000 to $150,000 worth of damage. Fled the scene. They didn't get his...
Allegedly.
No, he did flee it. They didn't get his exact blood alcohol reading because he fled.
Because the gauge doesn't go that high?
No, he was taken by teammate Bailey Smith to teammate Billy Gower's place. And then when the police finally caught up with him, I'm presuming hours later, he blew .123 at that point. So at the accident, he would have been well over that. He was fined $5,000 by the club, had suspended fines of $15,000, so they didn't actually go into why. He had to relinquish the vice captaincy, and he had also a suspension of 4 games, and he's lost his licence for 12 months.
If this was Collingwood.
Because
we almost have a precedent here. What did we lose the tax sponsorship for? Was it the Didac Shaw?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
incident where they swerved to avoid a rampaging wombat. Yep. Wombat, if I might say, on the road. We lost the tax sponsorship. I think they were suspended for
the whole season.
But
But internally, they were suspended by the club for the rest of the season, even when they made the finals.
Were they paralytic?
I don't think they were, but I don't know. I'm not defending them, but
was crime just worse back then, or
I think one of the issues there
was it crime, or was it just stupidity?
Well, they hit it for a little while, and it sort of blew out of control because they'd hit it and been exposed. But I mean, the Bulldogs hit it also, So and again, $100,000 to $150,000 worth of damage isn't a small. I mean, that's pretty much,
Well, he didn't get fined very much, so I'm sure he'd be able to pay it.
Yeah. So if this was Collingwood. I reckon, a few of the penalties there would be 6 months prison time.
At a minimum.
Deregistered by the AFL.
Yep, and father-sons deregistered as well.
Yeah, and Caroline Wilson would demand a public flogging.
Of herself? Or?
No, just of the player involved.
Okay. I don't see...
It really shows how the media do exploit Collingwood and sell us as clickbait. I mean, Eddie Maguire talked about that clickbait and on Mark Robinson's articles.
As if Robbo does that. Yeah. Come on.
And Mark Robinson said that was weak as piss, what Eddie said. And it was like, okay.
He wasn't reading one of his articles in draft form at the time, was he?
I think that's even weaker than piss. But that's how the media treat Collingwood compared to the rest of the league. I do recall, I don't think it's any privacy issue. I do recall Moana Hope, when she was playing for the AFLW side, speaking at a public library, which is why I'm saying it's not a privacy issue.
It was public speaking.
And I think
it's on the public record.
Yeah, she had a drink driving offence too, I think. I stand to be corrected, but it was something like that. And she talked about all the attention she got, while Joel Sellwood also had a driving offence. I don't think it was drink driving, he was just driving the offence. And I think he cost Geelong their sponsorship.
Mm-hmm.
And basically nobody said anything.
Nobody notices. It's Geelong.
They mopped it up by... without going anyway, that's it for If It Was Collingwood.
That's a good segment. Do you think we'll see it again?
I think we'll see it constantly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Beauty. I look forward to this one.
If this pandemic had come from the Lexus Centre, which it might have, but if it had... Do you think all the international governments would just be as meek as they're being right now? Or do you think they'd all come hunting and gunning?
No, there would have been some sort of thermonuclear strike.
Yeah. But fortunately, we have a $70 million
rehab centre. Yeah. Well, that might have to be whittled down to 65. Times are tough.
Anyway, we'll be back with whatever we're back with. Oh, the road ahead.
The road ahead.
The road ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so the AFL released their fixture today.
That's good.
4 weeks.
Yep, it's some very winnable games there.
What a disgrace that Collingwood resumes the season. Why would you choose Collingwood to do this?
For the rating bonanza.
What a privilege that Collingwood kicks off the resumption of the season. I mean, it has nothing to do with the fact that we're going to play Richmond round 2 anyway.
What do you think the crowd will be?
At Collingwood Richmond? 71 people.
Could be.
In security, just security.
Yep.
Why can't you just, put like a couple of people in each bay?
They haven't got to that point yet.
Why can't they be like, I think it was Korea who had the sex dolls in the...
Because I noticed that when I've been to Dan Murphy, and I've been to them a lot lately, it's wall-to-wall people.
Okay.
So therefore I think all our exposure happens in the booze outlets, so therefore our risk is elevated if we went to the G.
Okay.
Or something.
I mistimed that. So we played Richmond first up on Thursday, June 11th, and then round 3.
Round 3? Are we playing a round 3?
Yep. We play...
strange time.
If the season goes that long. We play St Kilda at the MCG in the twilight game, and round 4...
On a Saturday, isn't it?
Yep, Saturday, and then we play Giants over there. What's the name of their stadium?
Who gives a fuck ground?
Is this Spotless?
Is it?
It should.
It always looks nice.
And then round 5 we're playing Essendon. So we play 3 games at the MCG and 1 at Giants Stadium.
Is that Anzac Day, the one against Essendon?
It is the Anzac Day filler.
The Anzac Day +1.
Interestingly, just to look at someone else's fixture, I won't name who they are, but they're Geelong. Geelong versus Hawthorn at whatever Geelong Stadium is called now. There's just a lot of letters here.
I think it's a Mop Stadium.
So they play, let's just call it Skilled. Then they play Carlton at Skilled. And then, if I research this a bit clear, they play Melbourne at the MCG. And then they play Gold Coast at Skilled. So 3 out of their 4 games.
It's not much of a home ground advantage there, is there?
Oh, no.
Look, you need them to be making up the numbers come finals time where they get found out every year.
I mean, to be fair, the state clubs are having to play away from home to play their home games like in Queensland and stuff like that. But it was, it just sort of, I think, exploits how farcical this resumption of the season
is.
Well,
you can't expect to Geelong to travel. It's a long way to the top.
Let me ask you, if you were in charge of the AFL...
Oh, here we go.
would you have resumed the season, or would you just called it and said, no, we can't have an uncompromised season, let's just move on and give the premiership to Collingwood?
I think if you're going to go down that compromised, uncompromised route, everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's playing under the same conditions. Therefore, it is still quite feasible that the best side will win this year.
But in terms of the compromise, you look like the interstaters, like the Port and Adelaide, they're playing in Queensland, their home games. So they're a little bit more compromised.
Yeah, I suppose that's a point. But they won't feature when it comes to finals, so what do we care?
All right, so here's another question. Season resumption was announced, I don't know, like about a week ago or something. They started banning the date about, then they released the fixture. Collingwood's been training a week. They have 2 calf injuries. Trelaw and Greenwood. We should have a graphic here, a scoreboard that says pandemic 0, soft tissue injuries at Collingwood 2. And let's just see who leads that in about 6 months. Because I can tell you this pandemic's not going to get anywhere close.
It'll be a worse pandemic.
Yeah. Oh, it's already been a pandemic for 8 years. You got 2 players injured. How...
That we know of,
yeah. How do we not roll our eyes and go, excuse the profanity, but what the fuck? What the fuck, Collingwood?
But it's nothing to do with the ground at the training venue. Because they've trained away for, 2 months? And apart from that rumour of Trelaw having a bit of a niggle at one point, everybody's pulled up fine. The minute that we hit that ground... I mean, granted, you've probably got some compromised players there. So Greenwood's still coming off the knee. You wouldn't be thinking that he'd be 100% yet. Although he could be. It was about 18 years ago when they all last played.
Well, Trelaw did his hamstring at the start of the season, pre-season.
Yeah, he missed round 1, didn't he? Yeah.
From memory, he did it. He did the injury in a practice game, and then the season was called, and he did it again or some shit like that. So it's like, well, hey, we're going into a new season with the same problems. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, geez, it's good to see how much things change.
Yeah, I find it interesting.
How do you feel Collingwood or the circumstances are going to impact Collingwood? Do you think they're going to be one of the clubs that are advantaged by, the hubs? Obviously, they'll be playing more games at the MCG, smaller lists.
I mean, as I said, in terms of compromise, we don't know what the fixture looks like yet, and how much travelling is going to happen in between these groups of 4 or 5 games they're going to play. My understanding is everyone plays each other once, so it's only going to be 18-round season or something like that, into a lightning premiership or something. I just made that up in case it needs to be quoted. So you're going to have a shorter season. You're probably going to have groups of sides having an advantage for those 4 or 5 games by not having to leave their backyard. Versus those that will travel. So it should all pan out to be pseudo-even, I think. So in terms of how it'll benefit us, the more games we play interstate, the better, because we do well over there.
Yeah, the more you tighten in your group, the more system.
I think, look, we're in a position where we could potentially handle it quite well. I think one of the interesting things I did hear from an ex-trainer was saying he believed that the club that'll have the most advantages coming into this off this weeks of not doing anything, to training in your backyard, to doing push-ups over a toilet bowl or whatever they've been doing, is that anyone who sort of thinks outside of the square and approaches the way that they do the conditioning is probably going to have an ongoing advantage. I hope that we've looked at ourselves and done something unique. Which doesn't involve
we train on the minefield. What do you think players are like running around?
I think they were running around with first aid kits strapped to their back.
There's some St. Bernards at that club.
So I think to answer your question, I think we should be okay.
One of my concerns is when you have this prolonged layoff that your older players find it harder
come back and play games.
Yeah, they find it harder to get back into the tempo. You had a few guys going into this season who were probably going to struggle as it is, in terms of Greenwood, Dunn, both coming off knees and at their age profile. Varco with his shoulder. Reid with,
everything.
I have lobbied Mattel to just make the operation game, just a picture of Ben Reid. Ben Reid's...
Or have his own crash test dummy.
Ben Reid's another one, and there's probably a few others. I mean, the Goey's... he's not old, but, he had hammy problems last year. Elliott and Moore, they generally had pretty good seasons last year, but you still get tense whenever they clutch at a leg or something, and more clutched at a leg several times last year. So
Sometimes even his own.
Yep. And then you got Treloar on top of it now.
What?
Treloar on top of it all now.
Stacks on.
Yeah. So you got players there with issues, and then particularly the older ones. Then you have this prolonged layoff. Are they going to come back, and are they going to get right back into it, or are they going to struggle? And then you add guys in like Roughhead and Pendles and Sidey, who are all sort of older players. How, again, prolonged layoff, it's not... You see it often enough with older players, new season, and then they just suddenly lose that step, and it's like bang. And that doesn't happen to everyone, obviously, but happens to enough players where it's be a concern for me. The build of our list, as it is, concerns me that we have a very narrow window, and because of circumstances, that window is just really tightened up. So I'm actually very curious how we're going to come and attack this without a second-tier competition.
Well, they're going to have, from what I heard from Buck said the other day, is that, so let's say we're playing Geelong, the lists that play on the game day play each other. Everyone who's left over on both sides have scratch matches against each other. So that gives them, I guess, some continuity of match intensity, even though the crowds might be a little bit more diminished. There might be 70 people there.
But obviously when you have like guys, I'll just use Nathan Murphy as an example.
What about Nathan Murphy as an example?
You just have these sort of younger guys who you would be grooming for a position and playing week in, week out of the AFL and going, this is what we want him to do, and we hope that he can come up and start doing that in the AFL. Similar with guys like, Quain or all those younger guys who they have expectations of to fill roles. And then you have someone like Scharenberg who just needs continuity and is not going to get it.
There's not much we can do, though. I can't do anything about it. Maybe it's again, how do you approach your list management this year? Are you going to try and keep a side on the park, or are you going to have to rotate a number of people throughout the season?
How long have you been following Collingwood?
Yeah, by choice though this time. So where I was going with that is again, I can't remember where I was going with that. Yeah. It can't have been that great a point. Should we just move on?
Yeah,
I'll edit that out.
The final thing there with Collingwood in terms of, Buckley said he'd happily win an Asterix premiership.
What about an Obelix one?
Well, if we had some magic potion like some other clubs. And he said, we'll travel to help the situation. We'll travel more to help the situation if need be. And I just think, hey, it's hard enough as it is. Why are we making it harder for ourselves? Just focus on what you've got to do. Out of curiosity, if, let's say we had a second wave.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah. All right, do you want to say it?
No, it's not important. No, I was going to say, I think the gauge, getting back to what I was talking about before, is I think you're going to see probably first round, there'll be a lot of intensity for maybe the first quarter. It'll be interesting to see how they'll be able to sustain that and how quickly they tire. I think that'll be the sort of that'll be the start of the gauge about how the next few weeks are going to pan out, and we'll get a better idea, I think, after the first group of games about how they're going to all structure.
It's a shame that we're playing like a club who
wasn't all that important at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're playing a club in Richmond who, because of their flags and their experience, they're one of the few clubs that probably can hit the ground running a little bit harder than, say, a Gold Coast or St Kilda or Carlton or whatever. I was going to say, if a second wave came up, what would you do with the season?
Depending on how bad it was, I think they'll pull the pin on it. You can't just stop and start it. It's either got to start and finish, or if it breaks again, it just stops and they declare us premiers.
Do you think... Because this is
I think the team that wears the most black and white gets to win the flag.
Do you think, this is my theory, and we've talked about this, do you think the AFL's broadcast agreement has a stipulation that they have to play a certain amount of games to stipulate we'll get some money?
I mean, realistically though, under what previous conditions would you have that clause in a contract? This is unprecedented since probably the Second World War. This is unprecedented,
but there's things, terrorist attacks, there's wars, you just need...
I guess that's a risk factor, and there'd be risks...
I'm not saying any of this stuff is likely to happen or anything like that, but to me it'd be very surprising if they didn't say, look, worst case scenario, nuclear war breaks out somewhere halfway across the world. If we have to disrupt the season for 4 weeks, because that's what they did. If we only play 16 games in the season...
Before the fallout kills us all?
Yeah, do we... if the war breaks out, I'll be when we're 5 points up in the grand final. But let's just say there's something, whatever happened, and we play only this many games instead of that many, do we still get the same amount of money? I'd be surprised if they haven't planned for something just because, and we talked about this, just because the 9/11 disrupted so many things. I think they would have just sort of sat down and said, let's just plan just in case. We don't know what it is, just in case the season is disrupted.
Oh, there's definitely a need for it to be on the on TV. Like all sports at the moment are bleeding because the broadcast dollars are eventually dried up, so there'd have to be something about it.
And then the broadcasters aren't going to pay if they're not getting product.
No, that's fair.
Unlike the clubs who still want your membership dollars. Yeah. Did you get the email from the AFL asking you what you wanted to do with your membership?
Yes, I did.
And the free options were?
Well, I was wearing pants at the time, so I couldn't have pulled that one off.
Go absentee?
Yes.
Cancel it?
Yes.
Keep it or as is?
Yes, there was 4 options, wasn't there?
No,
that's the AFL one. They haven't done club ones yet
the clubs won't do
at the time of recording.
So
because they're weak as piss.
I was actually surprised when I read that. I was thinking, surely there's got to be an option that, hey, you can keep it at a discounted rate in case we do let attendances back at a certain point.
But they did have a clause in there that you can, I went absentee on mine, that if they allow crowds back in, there was a clause in there about allowing you to go and see games.
Yeah, well...
only one of us, though.
But it should be, how much money, what are you paying for it?
Enough.
Anyway, any final thoughts?
No, because I had a beer in my mouth. No, it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. I mean, again, there's no precedence here that we're following. It's going to be made up on the spot. And no matter what, as long as we win the flag, I couldn't give 2 flying pandemics.
That sounds fair. We'll be back at some point closer to the season's resumption with something or other.
Yeah, we'll probably do something or other.
Yep.
It'll be boring and a waste of your time as usual.
It'll be great.
At least we're back.
Yep. Later.
Oh, fuck the season.
Yep.